I have to choose between my E30 and my E36. And no, it's not just any E30 or any E36. This one is a turbocharged E30 and this one is a drift car. And it's not because I have lack of space, lack of money, or we're getting a child kind of thing. I'm doing one upgrade after another almost twice a week now on this E36. But in the same time, my E30 is just sitting here and watching me like,
bruh, is that really your new hoe?
So the reason why I have to choose is following. The main plan on this E36 was just welding the diff, putting a fly-off on, and that's it. No money and not much effort. That was the plan. But things escalated quickly and I ended up with this. I spent way much money and time on this than I probably should. And after a while, spending time together, working on this car, and after we had the first dates together on the drift track, I started getting feelings for this girl. I mean car. So you're asking me why? Let me explain. For the ones who don't already know, I should maybe mention that I own this car since 2012. That's 14 years. Yeah, let that sink in. I went through hell of a lot with this car. A lot of modification I did, a lot of meetings, catastrophic things that happened. It was really a lot. And this one is my first E36. I have to admit there are a lot of things that are better on the E36 than on the E30. Working on this car is so much smoother. Everything works so much easier on this car in comparison to the E30. And the feeling of driving it is so crazy even for a 369. And my problem is I only can focus on one thing at a time. So I can only use my time, energy and motivation for only one car. So the plan is following. If I'm keeping the E36, I'm so hardly putting an M50 turbo in it and make the most badass E36 drift car you can ever imagine. And if I'm keeping the E30, I will finish my street build and finally get it street legal, which is going on for 8 years now, by the way. So I made a list to make this decision a little bit easier. The first point, overall condition and rust. The E36 is pretty rusty, as you can see, but the condition on the Technic side is really good on this car. And for a drift car, the rust doesn't matter anyway. So the E30 is, for it being 41 years old now, in very good condition, especially when you think of rust and stuff like that. So the overall condition point is definitely going to the E30. The next thing is the engine. This one's got an M20 turbo on it with 2.7 liters. It probably makes about 400 horsepower at 1.3 bar of boost. So if the E36 is going to be a drift build, then it's gonna get an M50 with a turbo on it. It's gonna be about 500 horsepower. So I'm more a fan of the M50 because it's just M50. And so the engine point is obviously going to the E36. What about suspensions? The E30 got like a basic McPherson on the front and a pretty basic rear suspension. What I love on the E36 for more is working on the suspension. You can't imagine how fast you can build in a suspension upgrade on this car. And because I prefer working on cars that are easily repaired, this point is definitely going to the E36. The next thing on the checklist is tuning parts and possibilities. I think both of them have like pretty the same amount of options which you can do on tuning. But this one's gonna be a street build, so there's not gonna be a lot of more modification than it's already done. I would say if I'm making a drift car, then the modification point is also going to the E36. The value, the worth of the car. So we don't have to discuss this. The E30 is definitely more valuable than the E36, especially because this one being a rusty 369. So the point goes to the E30. Which one is friendlier to work on? Definitely E36. Bing, 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 bing. Finding parts and cost of the parts. Definitely E36. Bing, 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 bing. And the last point, the most important point of all, my heart and soul, my feelings. What do they think? Of course, the E30. There's no question about it. So if you look what our point system is saying, it's pretty obvious that the E36 is winning. But But I'm a crazy guy and I'm definitely making the most idiotic decision someone could ever make in this kind of situation. I decided to transform my E30 into a drift car. Yeah, you heard it right. I'm making this completely clean OEM plus looking E30 and gonna make a full drift car out of it. Sorry, this is the first time making an English video. And this car is probably gonna, realistically seen, end up on some crashes. So I put this E36 on a sales list and it got sold like in 17 minutes. So... Here comes the plot twist. But wait, there's a bigger one later, trust me. All of the modifications I've done on this car so far are always as near as possible to OEM, like I also did on the E36. That's because I just love the way OEM looks. But things get difficult to match with OEM if you wanna upgrade a car more than double the horsepower than it was ever delivered from factory. So the plan is following. I want to make a really nice E30 with all the major upgrades you need for a drift car, while staying as near as possible to OEM. I couldn't find anything coming close to that anywhere on the internet. So this is gonna be very difficult to find out how this is gonna work. Already my first challenge is, where do I wanna put the fly off without cutting too much or changing completely the design of the interior? I want it to be clean looking, like in this E36. I could only find one kit that's made plug and play for the E30, but that one is replacing the mechanical one to a hydraulic one. But that's gonna be a pain to use here, every time taking the hand from here to here. It would be nicer if it's closer to the steering wheel. So I want to leave as much as possible installed, like the center console, the carpets, the door panels and all of that stuff, and still make upgrades on the seat and harness and stuff like that. And of course there's gonna be some upgrades on the suspension, drivetrain, but that base is already set, so that shouldn't be a big problem. But, yes, there is another but. There is still one problem left. Now that I'm taking the E30 completely away from the street, I don't have any fun car left to drive on the streets. I only got this caddy with which I'm making my business and stuff like that. So, to fill this hole, now comes the last twist no one would ever guess. I made a much big, in all directions big, financially, technically, timely, mentally, and all of the biggest mistake,
the biggest beefsteak
someone could ever do. I bought this car. Okay guys, sorry, I got to cut up this video here because otherwise some people are gonna get some heart attacks. If you wanna see what's behind this door, there's no way getting around to watching the next video. What do you think hides behind this door? Which car suits my situation the best? So place your bets in the comments below. Thanks for watching me and see you next time. Your Furki. Bye. Tschüss.